Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema. It is here. We cannot believe it, but somehow it is awards season. I don't know. Oh, my name is Tosin. I am your confused host. And joining me as always from the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
So, were you guys aware that the Golden Globes were happening?
I sort of was. I seem to remember from I sort of heard about it, but I just heard about it really. That was
literally the day before I went, oh, is it? Yeah, so because they did see, I think something popped up on the news site or something about who's in the running for tonight's Golden Globes, and I went, oh, is it the Golden Globes?
Well, you see now,
what are they going to be voting on?
Yeah, I know.
But they do television as well, don't they?
They do television as well, but they have put some things in film. And I'm not sure whether they have changed their categories or they changed the qualification standards, or whether they have just sort of like gone. There was a whole fight about whether Netflix films were supposed to be allowed and they have to be in a cinema for a certain period of time. I think a lot of the films have found a cinema somewhere that's open, and it released it for a short period of time and then gone, okay, cool, now so that they could qualify.
Yeah, we qualify.
Yeah. But I think that they've done that. But for me, it was kind of like they went, and here were tonight's winners, the winners and the losers at last night's Golden Globes, and I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean last night Golden Globes? What's going on? And I was wondering whether they're just low key this year because obviously COVID, or whether it's actually me just not paying attention.
No, I think they
didn't really hear much about it.
Oh, cool. Well, anyway, well done to the winners of the
whoever they were.
Well, I remember there was one because it was a film that I saw before, or they were advertised before the pandemic, and I think it's called Trailerland or something like that.
Nomadland.
That's it. Nomadland. Yeah. And I really wanted to see that one because that would find. I think that one.
Wasn't it?
Did that win something?
Frances McDormand.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, I think she won Best Actor, Best Actress for that, and
in like a dramatic role or something.
Yeah, and I know Daniel Kaluuya. I know he won for a film called Judas and the Black Jesus.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, Judas and the Black Messiah. Judas and the Black Messiah. This is one of these films where I've seen it being reviewed and stuff, but I don't know where to actually watch it. It's a bit like I know there's a lot of there's a film called Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar with Kirsten Wiig and Annie Mumolo, which is getting a lot of buzz, but you can only watch it here if you pay to download it, like if you buy it like a video on demand thing. And as we all know, I am dead set against that. It's like I'm ready to pay for Netflix. We got Disney Plus, we got Now TV, we got what else? Prime Video, and you still expect me to pay to watch a film?
It isn't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
I'm like, no, that does not sound right. So anyway, so well done award season. I think the Oscars are going to be very weird because I know that usually when the Oscars come around, we usually try and watch a whole bunch of the films that are going to be released, don't we?
Oh yeah, at least a couple in each category, don't we?
Yeah, and this time around, I'm like, I don't have a clue what's going to be in the running for the Oscars, or what any one of us is going to watch. I just don't have a clue.
That's it. I've had my vaccine.
You've had Shaun, you got your vaccine.
I had my vaccine. Yeah, I had it Monday.
Oh wow.
No, Monday. Yeah, Tuesday. Monday.
Oh, okay, so
Tuesday.
So we are now an entirely inoculated podcast.
Yes.
We are, and I've had my MMR too, so I'm now resistant to
everything.
measles, mumps, and rubellas.
Yeah. Excellent.
Everything. You can now drop Sharon at any time period in history on the European continent, and she will be fine.
Yeah, I am going to be easy
It's
for
like
traveling the world.
Plague done.
If we don't have to do like 2-week extension, quarantines and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I went to the occupational health department, and they had a whole list of the vaccinations that they offer for traveling, they said it's against this particular disease. I didn't recognise what some of the diseases were. So I'm thinking they've obviously got vaccinations for things I've never heard of.
Well, yeah.
But you're tempted when you're in there saying, while you're here, can you just do me for, malaria, hepatitis,
yeah.
encephalitis?
Apparently, this is a weird
Never
thing.
mind.
If you go to random fact of the day, Shaun, you like random, but apparently,
Okay.
if you go to Madagascar is about the only place in the world that you can still catch the bubonic plague.
Oh,
Is it?
wow.
Yeah. Apparently, it's still active there. So you have to either be wary of it or get vaccinated for it. Because some of my wife's friends went to visit Madagascar, went there on holiday, and it was one of the things that they were warned of. It was like, oh yeah, plague. It was like, oh, okay.
What the heck?
I don't know why it's still there, but it is. Right. So we have had, every now and then on this podcast, we love it when we hear from people, don't we, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, we love when we hear from people, and this is it. We now know that we have at least one person who is listening to us, totally on what's it called? Totally unforced, uncoerced. Because this week I got a message from my cousin, and there is a story behind this which I will explain. Okay, I'll explain this first. Years ago, and this must have been when I was about 15, so we are talking over 20 years ago. We're talking about, of course, about 25 years ago. No, I was probably about 17, 18. So, we would usually go out to a Blockbuster. That's how long ago it was. Blockbuster was still a thing.
Yeah.
And when I was with my cousins, we would go out to the Blockbuster. I think it predated DVDs, it was even VHS, and we would sort of choose films. And obviously, there were a whole bunch of us. We were a whole bunch of teenage kids. And we're thinking about, let's go watch a film. And I was putting my whole film hat on. And I heard about some films. So there was some film, and I think it was called She's So Lovely. A film called She's So Lovely, starring John Travolta. I believe it has either Edward Burns or Sean Penn in it or something like that. But it's kind of like, that it's a bit of an indie film. And I was like, I heard this film's quite good. As well as another film called The Real Blonde. Now, I should have known because there was a bunch of teenage boys. So what we really wanted was things that were going to blow up. That was what was going to be a crowd pleaser. So on my recommendation, they took She's So Lovely back home. And since then, people have refused to take any recommendation I have ever given in 20 years. People are like, hey guys, let's go watch this film. They're like, what? We're definitely not watching that film. Oh my God, remember She's So Lovely? Remember all that kind of stuff. So my cousin Taiwo got in touch with me, and he sent me a message saying, public service announcements is the heading of the message. He goes, Tosin, you have been forgiven for the previous travesty of the film you once recommended. Though over a decade ago, as I said, it's more like 2 decades ago, the memory still haunted us. However, this has now been wiped by your recommendation of Greenland.
Hey,
It says,
Gerard Butler. Who knew?
yes, Griffith is putting it mildly. Of the first hour we've watched, I'm loving it. Therefore, the past transgression will be wiped from the history books. End of PSA.
Wow.
It's like, P.S. His name is Gerard, not Gerald. Yeah, so that's us all. Apparently, his name is Gerard Butler, not Gerald Butler.
I think you pronounce it the Scottish way, which is Jared. You just say Jared. Yeah.
Jared Butler. And PPS, keep up the good work on the podcast.
Ooh, nice.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yes. So I thought every time anybody gets in touch with us, I'm like, yeah, let's put it back on. So yeah, that's good. And he also said he was right. He agreed. Very, very realistic human interactions. We also mentioned a load of actors, but missed out the Instagram sensation of King Batch. Such an old man. And I was like, yeah, I'm such an old man, because I was like, who the hell's King Batch? I've never heard of the guy. But he was Shaun, if you know, he was the guy who he met in the back of the truck, who told him about Canada.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Apparently he's a big star on Instagram. I've only ever seen him in 2 films. So
Wow.
I was kind of like, well, I guess I'm now the old guy who's like, well, I don't know. Even isn't on the silver screen, I don't know about it. What's this Instagram you speak of? but yeah, good. Thank you for getting in touch with us. And if there's anybody else who is listening and who wants to get in touch with us, do get in touch with us on Twitter, Netflix via Cinema, on Facebook, Netflix via Cinema, or look for Netflix versus Cinema chat, and you can do things like look at Richard Mann, who was the only person who directly guessed which film it was that Shaun was going to put up in the background this week.
I know. It's good.
Right. So now we get onto the films that we're going to talk about this week. We have a couple of holdovers from last week because due to technical concerns, we couldn't talk about them. So Shaun, I believe you've got Sea Fever.
Yep, Sea Fever.
Which is a film that you are particularly keen to talk about. I know after we got off last week, you were like, oh, I really want to talk about Sea Fever. I'm so sorry. So you had so you want to talk about Sea Fever. Sharon, you had something from last week as well.
Yep.
Candy
jar.
Candy jar. That was a candy jar. I have started. I think we might actually start a new feature on this show, which is watch from my Netflix list. You know how Netflix has your list, and you have things in that list that you've put on there like 2-3 years ago and you've never watched. I've decided I'm gonna start trying to see if I can finally get up the gumption and watch at least one thing from my list each week. So this week I watched Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is from my list. And then Shaun, you saw The Sister's Brother and The U.S. versus Billie Holiday. Now that is now at the moment, obviously the film world is weird because there's films that are released you hear about, but you don't have a clue where to watch them. So I read reviews for this, but none of the reviews tell you where you can watch it.
It's actually on the Sky Cinema, so it's Sky Cinema. So that's where I watched. Funny enough, that's where I watched Sea Fever as well. So
that's where you watch all of these things. Cinema. That's what you watch. Yeah. So essentially, Shaun, you're becoming like a Sky Cinema correspondent. You're just gonna go troll there and see what happens. But okay,
And I'll tell you. I know this is one of my tangents, right? I actually because there's like the Sky Cinema, because Dan has, it's just like standard. Do you know what I mean? He has got the packages.
He's got the package with all the channels, all the Sky Cinema
and so
channels.
I can sort of do other stuff and I have the TV on, and I watched Batman and Robin. I started no, hear me out, right? Which this film, when I remember seeing it, and I was like, I hated it. I was like, oh my god! But it was on. It just happened to be on. I thought, and I caught the beginning, and I saw it in a totally different light. I thought it's not supposed to be at all serious in any way, shape, or form. It's just really, it's a bit of a parody, and it's just an hilarious comedy, really.
That is the George Clooney one.
The George Clooney and like Arnie is absolutely brilliant in it as Mr. Freeze. You won't take me to the cooler. And the cars are like the police cars are like little dinky cars, it's all really garish and all really, and I found it really, really funny, and I ended up watching the whole thing. And that's the second time I've ever seen it. So the other time was at the cinema, whatever year it came out.
Okay, Shaun, we know you have a tendency to mellow the second time you watch a film.
Yeah, I do actually.
You have a tendency to mellow the second time you watch a film. I would tell you that, and I think Batman and Robin is because on the Empire website there's actually a list of the top. They rank all the Batman performances on the big screen, like from best to least best, shall we say? And they actually say Batman and Robin. They say, well, Batman and Robin. I think people begin to reappraise it, and they say it's it's better than Batman Forever. It's better than Batman Forever. And when you look at what Joel Schumacher was doing, he was essentially going back to the Adam West days. Because one of when you think about certain things that show up in Batman and Robin, there's a bit where a Bat credit card shows up.
Yeah, they got all those sort of things.
There's a bit where a Bat credit card shows up, and by the time you go to a Bat credit card, that is not that far from the Bat shark repellent you have in the 1966 Adam West movie. Yeah. It's not that far away. So it's like, how does he get a credit check? How does Batman get a credit check? And it's so you might think that, but. Yes, and I have to admit that there are some sequences, like there's a sequence on a bridge where Robin and Batman are chasing Mr. Freeze, and Batman disables Robin's car. And I remember one of my friends watched that sequence, and he goes, oh my god, Joel Schumacher can actually direct, because he says that sequence in and of itself is fun. But the film as a whole, I think if you put on a hat and say this is supposed to be campy rubbish, then yes. But if you're thinking this is technically speaking a sequel to the Tim Burton Batman.
Tim Burton's, yeah.
Then you're like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, but we'll do that. But okay, this film has been waiting a week. Let's get onto it. Sea Fever, Shaun. What is it about? Why have you been waiting a week and biting to tell us about it?
I've actually watched it again since, because as you know, with the Sky Cinema, they keep showing them. So I've watched it again the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Really enjoyed it. So basically, it's this film. It's an Irish film.
Ooh.
And it's this trawler, and it goes out fishing trawler, and there happens to be she's a bit of a loner. She doesn't mix in, university scientist who studies behaviour of species, marine species and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
She happens to go on it, and she's sort of and she's got it's really weird because at the start, because she's got a hat on, and there must be some superstition of girls with ginger hair shouldn't be on a boat, because when she takes off her fishy's hat, like some of them get all a bit funny and like, oh my god, that's a bad omen. So it starts off like that, and then they go out and they get stuck. All of a sudden, they just get stuck. So obviously she can dive, and she goes down there in this strange thing, this like a species of some sort of thing, and it's holding the boat. Anyway, it sort of lets go, and then they find this other boat, and they get on the other boat, and everybody's just, whatever's happened has happened, and the people are this whole crew. They're like, let's go back, but don't tell anybody what's happened.
Yeah. And
then all these strange, parasitic things start to get in, start to invade the boat, shall we say, and sort of lots of strange things happen. And then you've got to decide, do they go back to shore? Do they keep it contained? What do they do? It's and that's the sort of story. And I would say that it's a real homage to. It's a cross between Alien and The Thing. Oh. So The Thing?
Yeah.
It's a real cross. And obviously, and actually there's some bits in it. There's one bit where I thought, yes, that's taken from, that's a homage to The Thing, right? There's a thing with this, there's a bit in The Thing where it goes, oh, I don't know what it is, but it's weird and pissed off. And it doesn't quite, it's not quite that
so,
thing, but there's that. As a scene like that.
But for you as a John Carpenter fan, you sort of spotted that and you went, okay, now that is referencing John Carpenter right there.
Yeah. So
it's funny because as you were describing it, I was saying, okay, this sounds like some sort of mix between Irish folklore and aliens.
Yeah, it's similar. The suspense. I mean, it sort of builds up. It's quite nice. It's quite a slight build up, but it's like things happen and. Things happen all the time. What do they do? And there's even a bit from The Thing. Have you seen The Thing, Toes?
I have never seen The Thing.
You've never seen it?
I've never seen any one of the versions of The Thing.
Oh, right. What about Sharon? Have you seen The Thing?
Oh, yeah. Loads of times.
Yeah. Well, the bit where they do the blood tests?
Yeah.
The bit where, there's a bit where...
I know about that scene, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a bit in that where there's the eyes, because they get these things in the eyes and they're doing but it's a torch in the eyes. So we'll have a look. Do you know what I mean? It's a similar there we go.
So similar beats to the
similar beats. But
you can get a very good précis of The Thing by watching Pingu's The Thing, because it's just like The Thing in 5 minutes, but with Pingu and plastic.
That's that little penguin, isn't it?
Yeah, little penguin. Yeah, but he does The Thing.
Pingu did a version of The Thing.
But so that'd be interesting.
Okay, so Shaun, but why did you want to talk about it so much?
Because I just think it's great.
Oh, okay, all right.
I just really so totally impressed with this film. Really megally impressed. And the thing is, me and my foibles, I thought everything in this was possible.
Oh, wow,
I didn't think there was any silly moments in this. It was all, and the acting was absolutely. Well, I thought the acting was first class. And I don't know who the actress is. I can't think of her name offhand. You'll probably
Hermione Caulfield.
Hermione Caulfield.
She plays Siobhan.
Siobhan, yeah. Well, Siobhan was this brilliant. She played it so well because she's obviously a bit socially awkward. She was obviously socially awkward, and obviously the interaction between the crew. So and they're basically like a little bit of a family. The crew. You got some young ones, and you got the captain, and you've got the woman, the witchy woman who's the cook, who's always and You know what I mean? Oh, what have you done?
Yeah.
What have you done?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the cast right now, and there's only two people I recognize: Dougray Scott and Connie Nielsen, and
Oh, Dougray Scott.
yeah, yes.
Hello.
Oh, have we found
Ooh.
another one? Have we found another one?
We have a winner.
we found another one. Add him to Sharon's list. Dougray Scott.
So yeah, I can't really praise this film enough. I think it was a really thoroughly enjoyed it. Certainly, I would certainly watch it again, and I'd certainly watch it again.
All right.
And I just really liked it. As I say, it wasn't like massive in your face. I thought it was a really clever premise. You know what I mean? I thought yes, this is a possibility. I mean, I don't know if it was like with the pandemic that we're in at the moment, but I mean, you know, you could see what could possibly happen. You know, like in the Aliens, where do you go back to Earth with this species, or do you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you quarantine yourself? Sacrifice yourself?
Do you risk contaminating everybody? You know?
Yeah, I got it. Okay, all right, cool. So that's good stuff. So how many stars would you give Sea Fever?
Well, I'm gonna have to give it a 4, nearly touching a 5. I think. I mean, I'm being a bit more conservative this time, but I'm tempted to give it a 5. Actually, I really am tempted. The more I think about it, so I'm going to stick my neck out and say this one's worth. For me, it's worth a 5.
Oh wow, cool.
I'm giving this a biggie.
You think?
I
think
this was a total surprise. Total like wow.
Yeah.
I love this.
So,
but that's me.
Shaun's like, you know, watching random stuff on Sky Cinema stuff pays off. Like, that's good because I do feel like, you know, that is your home now. Sky Cinema is where you dive in and you go find things. All right, so Sea Fever, might actually have to go find that one and watch it. So let's go over to Sharon now. And Sharon, you have Candy Jar that you saw last week.
Yeah.
Which I mean, for the title alone, I'm like, okay, talk to me.
Yes, it's a 2018 film, so it's quite old, and it's it's one of those films that every now and then I think I'll watch something so I can identify with younger people and see what they are watching. Because I have a nephew and a teenage niece, and I think sometimes it's nice to see what people, you know, below my generation are watching. Because I sat through the sort of hideousness that was Kissing Booth, because, you know, we talked about this in a previous show.
Yes.
That, you know, that everyone of a certain age was aware of it, and I thought, oh, I'll watch it, and I thought it was dire, absolutely awful film. And so every now and then I think I need to just have an idea of what's going on. So I thought I'd watch one of these again, like this, aimed at a teen audience, thinking, what are they selling these young people? And so Candy Jar, but I was actually pleasantly surprised. Candy Jar is about basically like a couple of high achievers who have had this ambition. It's about this a young boy and a young girl, sort of top of their high school. They're looking to get into the college of their choice, and it's American. So one of them's looking to get into Yale, and the other one's looking to get into Harvard.
Yeah.
And they have basically geared nearly all of their school lives to this one goal in mind. They've decided, more or less, from like as soon as they started school, this is what they want to do. That they want to go to Harvard and Yale, and in order to do that, they have to become members of different groups, members of different societies, and their thing that they've chosen on is the debating society.
All right.
And that has become their whole focus. And one of them's like from a working class family, and her mum is like, yeah, you need to get out and have fun. You're a teenager. You need to go to the prom and go to the homecoming and go watch a football game. And the young boy, his mum, he's from an upper class family, and his mum's a senator. And she said to him, yeah, you've got to go and have fun and, you know, get into Yale, because that's, you know, your purpose in life, because all of my family have gone to Yale. But, you know, you need to and basically they both said to their parents, you know, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so there's one scene where both of them are like driven. He's got the tuxedo on, she's got the prom dress and the corsage, and they've had the pictures taken. They don't go together. And then she says, oh no, I'm going to meet my friends down the road. Don't you worry about it. And they both independently basically go to the nearest cinema, and they watch 2 films back to back, so they can then pretend that they have been to prom, and then they carry on with their lives thinking, like, okay, I'll pacify the parents. Both of them are like single mothers. I'll pacify the parent, but I am, gonna
Yeah.
do my teenage years my own way.
Yeah.
And so it's this sort of this odd couple where they're rivals, but then they become friends, and it has a danger of straying into sort of kissing booth territory. So I'm thinking, oh no, they're gonna get, it's gonna get very smoochy very quickly, and they're gonna go from being like these high ambition teenagers to just, shagathon basically.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't turn into that at all. It was restrained, it was underplayed, and it was teenagers I actually recognised, because most teenagers I know are horribly insecure.
Yeah.
They're worried. There's a generation of warriors out there, and they focus on things that become obsession.
Yeah.
And so when I saw this sort of two teenagers, I was thinking, oh no, it's just going to be one of those films. And I was really surprised that it didn't. It took their ambition seriously. It took them seriously. And the thing about the candy jar is they both go to a student counsellor, and she's played by Helen Hunt, and she's trying to basically say, look, take your education seriously, but this is, don't put everything on this one thing, because if you don't get this one thing, that is not the end of the world. It's not the end of your lives. And she basically has this. In her office, there are these sweet jars, and anyone who comes in, they sort of pick the sweet of their choice, whether it's chocolate or gummies or something chewy. So the candy jar is like sort of symbolises this sort of home truths that she's trying to tell them, that you can take your education seriously, you can be ambitious, you can be focused, but you bear in mind that sometimes, no matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you work, you don't always get what you want.
Okay,
so I found it, to me, it worked.
Oh, good Lord. I mean, now you said Helen Hunt. That's made me go, all right, okay, cool. Got to check out this cast. Because Helen Hunt, I think especially in her later career, I think anything, she doesn't do much, but whenever she does something, I'm like, okay, pay attention. Let's see what Helen Hunt's up to. And this film has actually got quite a good cast, and
yeah.
Okay, you said this was supposed to be a 2018 film, so it's not a COVID should have been in the cinema thing or anything like that. But
no, I think it was one that was an indie. It had the feel of like more of an independent film.
Yeah, this looks like, I think it's a Netflix original. I think this is Netflix flexing some of their muscle because they've got Christina Hendricks playing the girl's mum, and they've got Uzo Aduba playing the boy's mum, and she is one of the stars from Orange is the New Black. Which is
okay.
Yeah. So okay, cool. So that you've already said it. You've already told us that you liked it. You liked it. How many stars would you give it?
So I would give it I was veering between like the 3 and a 4, but I'm tempted to go in sort of. I think it does creep into the 4, because I think if I would be happy for my teenage sort of niece and nephew to watch that, because I think it. Yeah, I can recognise these people in it as teenagers, anxious, worried, fearful, and not the sort of the hypersex, sort of crazy kids that tend to be what you see in cinema. I think, actually, I recognise these kids who would rather go to the cinema than go to the prom and be forced to dress up and dance. I mean, my group of friends, we didn't go to our school Leavers do. It was called the Leavers dance because none of us were like, I'm not going there. And we went out, did we did an alternative thing, but there's no way we were going to get dressed up and be paraded about, because that just wasn't us. And I thought, yeah, I recognise those as teenagers.
All right, so
unlike the kissing booth, I didn't recognise those people.
Hey, Sharon, think about it, right? At least the kissing booth is not after.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I think apart from Rambo, I think Shaun, we've begun to find a pattern here. Sharon saves her biggest vitriol for teen movies.
Teen movies, yeah.
Yeah. Well, So there is a reason.
Yeah, but it's funny because what you're saying about things that are focused on teenagers. There's a TV show called Euphoria. It's on Sky Atlantic, so on Now TV or on Sky or anything like that. and it Zendaya won the Emmy last year for best performance for Euphoria, and this has been getting like loads of people like, oh yeah, this is what it's like for teenagers nowadays. And I watched the first episode and I thought, oh my god, is that what it's like for teenage? That's not what it was like when I was a teenager. I was like, oh my god, the world has gone downhill in a handbasket. But when I saw that, and so much so that I think there's a lot. The film it's getting a lot of praise, and a lot of people are watching it because they find it authentic. But I find it really, really hard to relate to because I'm like, I never found anybody finding drugs that easily when we were teenagers, and. Nope. And it's just kind of like, whoa, I don't know what's going on. And so it's well acclaimed, but I have not watched any more of it. I might, at some point I might do it. We'll see. We'll find out. Cracking on with that, I mean, so far we've had a good bit of film. So we've had Sea Fever, we've had Candy Jar. Four. We're looking at 5 and 4 stars, so this is quite good. And now let's see if Shaun's trawling through what Sky Cinema has to offer can continue its good hit rate with the US versus Billie Holiday. Now, this is the film I was talking about that I saw the first review for this yesterday, and I was like, oh, well, that looks good, but I didn't have a clue where to watch it. And then all of a sudden you pop up and say you've watched it. So now I know it's on Sky Cinema. So we know Billie Holiday, famous jazz singer of legend. And
yes,
and this from what I can understand and what I've read, you know how I was talking about the other time about how when it comes to stories about like black centered stories, there's a certain type of film that I've seen enough of, and I want to go into little pockets of history that I don't know about. And I think this film sounds like that sort of little pocket of history that I didn't know about, with the US trying to bring Billie Holiday down.
Yeah, exactly that, Tosin. It's really, really interesting. It's like a slice of history, because if you watch a film like this, it was like Selma, like Detroit. It was like all those films. It makes you want to go and have a look at the story, because I've already known about Billie Holiday because she was quite famous. Diana Ross, Lady Sings the Blues. Yeah, really, really famous. This story is about a period where, because there was a poem that was put into the song called "Strange Fruit." Yes. And this strange fruit, and when you look at the lyrics or the poem or whatever, this strange fruit is like, oh my god, that is exactly. I mean, it's such a clever piece of work. Yeah. About lynching. Anyway, but so obviously that's like the government. The government doesn't like this, so she's sort of banned from singing this song and all that. So she can't sing it, not allowed to sing it, whatever. And the government put in an undercover agent to try and obviously, I mean, I didn't realise. I thought she was an alcoholic, but it turns out she was a heroin addict. She was a big user of heroin and all that. So this is basically the story. And I think she was quite promiscuous, so she had a lot of affairs, and she actually has a bit of a fling with the agent that's gone undercover. But yeah, she spent a bit of time in prison, and yeah, I mean, it's really these sort of films. When you actually look more in depth at these people. Yeah. Because as I say, as far as I was concerned, Billie Holiday, I've heard her, quite famous singer. I didn't realise quite what it was like. So yeah, so it's a really, really good biopic. Terrifically well acted. I thought it was really, really well acted. An interesting piece of. And there's an incident that happens which you can understand why she suddenly, people get angry. I think it was a little bit, should we say, I don't know if I can say this. I thought it was a little bit too long, really, for me. You know what I mean? I stuck with it, but there were some bits where it just seemed a bit, it seemed to sort of...
float off somewhere.
It just, it could have been, there were a few bits. But... yeah, great performances. Really, really interesting slice of history. Yeah. And now I know what that, because I mean I didn't know about Strange Fruit. I didn't know about
the Strange Fruit. I mean, it's a famous song, and I know about the song. I mean, I found out about it probably not that long ago. I think probably about 5-6 years ago that I realized that there was this song Strange Fruit. And the strange fruit is referring to the bodies of black people hanging from trees. So it's kind of like, what is this strange fruit that this tree is producing? It's like, it doesn't look like anything else on it. And that's what it was referring to. But what I didn't know is that Billie Holiday was in any way an activist. I didn't know she was an activist, but
No.
yeah, and it's one of those things where when you look at it, the lengths to which the government, the U.S. government, went to or would go to try and shut somebody up because we don't like what you're saying. That doesn't help. And I think they pretty much branded her a terrorist for singing this song.
Yeah.
Which
So it's like this whole song, you know what I mean? It's going to cause the downfall of the United States of America.
It's going to kill our democracy. No,
Yeah, that's
no.
it.
Somebody else is going to kill your democracy, and he's not around for another couple of decades.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, it's a powerful piece. It's a really, really powerful piece of, really powerful words, really. You know, and it conjures up, and you can understand the whole thing. And I mean, when you think from that, you look at lynchings, and I mean, they were going into the early 1900s. You know, they were like, as I say, and they were like, there's pictures where there's crowds of people, of families,
I've seen some of those,
and it's like, oh my God, look at some of those things, and they're like smiling, and they got postcards, and I think there's a bit in this where it's like there's actual postcards. People can send postcards, you know, of scenes of mobs of people.
Yeah, I was down at the lynching.
That's it. Look at me, big smiles, you know, and they're all like, and in the background you got those trees with the strange fruit, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was great in the respect of finding out a little bit more about, delving back into about history and finding out a little bit more than what I knew about Billie Holiday, apart from her just being a singer.
So
jazz singer.
So how many stars did you give it?
I think the acting's really, really good. I did find it a little bit too long, but on the whole, I'd probably give this a 3.
Okay.
I'd give this one a 3. I would like to give it more.
Yeah.
I would like to give it more because I think it's quite a powerful piece and there's some great moments in it. But it just seemed to drag a little bit for me.
Because it's directed by Lee Daniels, who also directed Precious, based on the story Sapphire by Push. He directed that, and he has this habit of making something really powerful. But he also did The Butler, the Butler about the guy who's been the butler in with the Forrest Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, and he has this habit of doing something that's really, really powerful and has really, really powerful moments. But he does tend towards melodrama.
Right. Yeah.
he does have a tendency where he goes towards melodrama a little bit or anything like that. But you know that you're going to have something powerful at the center of it. So thank you very much, Shaun. Now that I know where it is, I'm going to go watch that. So
good.
U.S. versus Billie Holiday. Oh, and now we go to the section of the show which I'm going to start calling From My Netflix List. So, because obviously Netflix came up with this My List thing because Netflix is so big and all these streaming platforms are so big that if you see something and you think, ooh, I want to watch that, and you don't watch it then, it used to be that you would go past and then that's it. It was gone forever. You would never remember that you saw that thing or you wouldn't be able to find it again. But Netflix said, okay, you can add it to your list so you can watch it later. So I started adding things to my list, and there were some classics in there, things like Harold and Maude that I've heard loads about, but I've never actually seen. Put that on the list about 2 years ago, never watched it. There's a film with Paul Rudd and Emil Hirsch called Prince Avalanche. Yeah, that had some good reviews. Put it on the list, never watched it. And and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to try and save things from my list. I'm going to try and knock things off my list and see if I can watch it. So I watched a film called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which is a film that, like I said before, had loads and loads of good reviews. Never watched it. And the whole idea, the me of the title is a guy called Greg. Is a guy called Greg who he's in high school, but he's figured out how to sort out his whole high school life because his whole thing is, if you become noticed in high school, then all of a sudden you become a target. So he's broken his high school up into all these different areas. There's the jocks, there's the drama geeks, there's the goth people, there's there's the chess club, and he essentially has like a map of his school in his head. And his aim in life is to make sure that he can go through his whole high school, or however many years he's going to be in high school for, without any one group, without belonging to any group, while being able to sort of like navigate through the middle of all these groups. So he has this montage at the beginning where you see him walking through school, and he has the things that he says to the jocks, and the jocks are like, yeah, and he has the things that he says to the drama kids, and they're like, they and has something he says to the jock. He has something he says to the guy who deals drugs outside the school, but nobody really notices him. And Earl is his best friend, who he doesn't call a friend, he calls him his co-worker. He calls him his co-worker, and they don't even eat in the cafeteria, because eating in the cafeteria means that you have to sit down with a group and they have to identify yourself. So they spend their time eating. All the lunches they eat in the class of the history teacher, who is played by John Bernthal. But yeah, so it's quite an interesting setup. But one day he goes home, and his mom is like, "Oh, you know the girl down the road." And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, apparently she's been diagnosed with leukemia. I want you to go hang out with her and make her feel better. And he's like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But it's like the way but eventually his mom badgers him into it. He goes there, and there's this quite funny scene where he's standing at the bottom of her stairs, and she's like, You're only hanging out here because I'm sick, aren't you? He's like, well, yes, my mom made me do it. He's like, but please, look, my mom is like the queen. She is the queen of badgering, and just let me hang out with you for one afternoon, because if I don't do this, she's never gonna let me hear the end of it. And so she comes in, they come in, they hang out, and a relationship starts forming. And because this whole film is narrated by him, and every now and then he comes up and there's a caption that shows up on screen like day 1 of doomed friendship. And it carries on, and you go through the whole thing, through her chemotherapy and through everything that goes on. And it turns out that he and Earl, because his father, who's played, this one has a great cast. I mean, the adults in this cast is brilliant. You have let's see, Connie Britton. I keep getting Connie Nielsen and Connie Britton confused. So,
yeah.
So Connie Britton. It has Connie Britton in it as his mum. It has Molly Shannon as the girl's mum. The girl is played by Olivia Cook. His dad is played by Nick Offerman. And his dad is like this sort of like, almost sort of hippie professor who has tenure. So from a young age has been introducing him to all these films, like the films of Werner Herzog and Fitzcarraldo and all and all that kind of. So he and his friend Earl, what they do is that they take a title of a film, they change the, like, first there's a documentary made about the making of Fitzcarraldo that's called Burden of Dreams, and they make a film called Burden of Screams. And they essentially change the title of the film, and then they make a film, and they have all these little snippets of them making their version of these classic films. For instance, they have a film that's called 2:48 a.m. Cowboy. If you can figure out, you can figure out what film that they're parodying there and all that. And so they have all these little, really, really delightful snippets of homemade movies that they've made to parody these things. And the girl, I'm sorry, but I've forgotten what her name is. I've totally forgotten what her name is, but she so she finds out about them, and then she starts watching.
Rachel.
Yes, thank you very much, Rachel. And she starts watching them through like while she's doing chemo and everything like that, and then becomes this whole thing about, oh, why don't you make a film? And he's like, okay, this is the day that ruined my life, because of his friendship with her, people in the school start noticing him. So it's a really, really good film. It's a really good film. Like, Sharon, you're talking about like teen movies that do the typical teen movie thing, and this has some of those things. Like, there is a prom, there's a dance that they're trying to get to go, and there's all these different things. But I think the characters and there is a Hugh Jackman cameo that I think is hilarious. There's hilarious Hugh Jackman cameo in the film, and it's like an indie film that it's. Sometimes you wonder whether it's a rom-com. Is it supposed to be a romantic comedy? But because you have more romantic comedies where you have somebody dying at the heart of it. But this twists it, and it does something that ends up being very real, very sweet, and so very, if you will, forgive the term, life-affirming. And I think that this film deserved all the accolades it got. I think it deserved all I think it deserved all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Man, I'm doing badly with words today. It deserved all the accolades, praise, all the buzz. I think it deserved all the buzz it got. and I am really, really happy that I finally rescued this from my Netflix list. So, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I would totally recommend.
Good.
I'll totally recommend it. I think Shaun, the bit where they're going through, because they said they've made 42 films. They have made 42 films over like a year, and they keep showing snippets of all these bits where like they have films which they call like, you know, a sockwork orange and all that. And they show you.
Oh right, okay, okay.
They show you all these snippets of these little films that they have made and they've parodied. And I think, Shaun, you would just have a ball sitting there going, "Oh, that's that one. Oh, that's that one. Oh, I know that one."
Right, okay. True.
And I think even when they released it, I think they actually had a website where they had all the films they had made, where you could go and watch their parodies that they'd made, which is
wow.
So yeah, it's indie, it's quirky. I really, really, really liked it. All right. And so let's get on to our final film, which is going back to Shaun, going back to your Sky Cinema port, and this is The Sisters Brothers, isn't it?
The Sisters Brothers, yeah.
The Sisters Brothers. Now, this is a film that was released. It must have been 2019. It definitely wasn't last year.
Yeah. 2018, 2019, I think. Yeah.
And it kind of disappeared without it. It was one of those things I was like, oh, maybe we should catch that at the cinema, but it disappeared without a trace. It was really, really hard to find it anywhere. And it's Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly, isn't it?
John C. Reilly, yeah, that's it. And it's a Western.
Yeah.
And the story is it's a bit of an odd Western. It's like they're basically, the Sisters Brothers. They're like a couple of assassins, and they're sent off to get Jake Gyllenhaal and to assassinate him. But they end up sort of on different adventures. You know, you get like that. They go through towns and there's other people after them, and there's a few shootouts. And it's I mean, it's really, really different. But I had a real problem with this. And can you guess what the problem would be? No.
Okay. If it's a Western, and you had a problem with it,
no, nothing to do with the actual story or the shootout.
Was it the weapons?
Like
Did they have suddenly have modern?
No, nothing.
Somebody wore a belt buckle that was from the wrong time period, and it totally threw out of the whole film.
If they did, I didn't notice that. No, that it was.
They called the Palomino horse a Mustang.
No. It's nothing. As I say, it's nothing to do with the story, nothing to do with the equipment, nothing to do with the clothes, nothing to do. That was all pretty good, as much as I can see.
Yeah.
It was just I had real problems with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yep.
Because I just saw him as a Joker.
That was going to be my next. That was going to be my next joy.
Oh, right. He just sounded like the Joker. It was exactly the same, and I thought, and I had
funny
real.
voice.
Pardon? Yeah, I had real problems. I had real problems. I mean, the film was pretty good. It was quite. As a stand, it was a bit of a yarn, you know, and there's some crazy bits in it. A couple of really, really good shootouts, which were quite good. And what I really liked about it was they actually changed because in some of the revolvers, the old Navy Colts and all that, they used to actually change the chambers, you know, like revolvers.
Yeah.
So they'd have to click the gun, take one out, and put in a.
Oh yeah.
So that was all that stuff was pretty good, but it was just a Joker, you know. I mean, every time Joaquin spoke, it was the Joker, man. I was like, no, it can't be. It's put me out. So I reckon every time now I see a film, maybe not Gladiator, but whenever I see a film with him now, I'm gonna sort of. It was like the Joker in a cowboy costume, you know, with a cowboy hat and stuff. But he wasn't, you know, it wasn't funny or anything like that, although there was a few comedic moments in the film, but he played a drunk. So I don't know what to say really. I enjoyed the film as a Western. I enjoyed the film. I thought it was really good, really quite different. I don't know, Sharon, have you ever seen a film called The Missouri Breaks with Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando? It's sort of in that vein. It's sort of in that vein, a bit avant-garde, a bit sort of bit different. I mean, terrifically well acted.
Is it the whole? Are there elements of the whole sort of journey as allegory where you can read it like a sort of Odyssey type thing, or is it just more of a straightforward story?
I think it's more of a straight. Well, yeah, I suppose the relationship.
Often where they go on a journey where you meet all these different characters.
Yeah,
it's like Jason and the Argonauts, isn't it? Just with a different costume, they have these different obstacles to overcome and things. Yeah. So you can see some of this sort of old time storytelling, but just in a different setting. But
yeah.
sometimes you can read more into that than is actually there.
That's what, yeah.
It could just be that they have adventures.
Exactly that. I think probably it was the relationship between the two brothers. That was, as if you went into that could be a lot deeper, because like Joaquin Phoenix was pretty much a drunk, an alcoholic. So and John C. Reilly was like, he would always get him out of a jam and they'd get into scrapes.
Well, the thing is, I personally don't think that Joaquin Phoenix is going to do a film unless it's weird.
That's true. That's true.
He's gone down that road, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think it's like I think for him, he's not going to do a film if it's just going to be a straightforward story. There has to be something a bit weird and off kilter about it.
Yeah, a bit weird. And I mean, it appealed to me. The film did appeal to me, but I had really, really real problems.
See, okay, all right. So with that, okay, first of all, how many stars would you give The Sisters Brothers?
I'll give this one a 3-star, solid 3-star. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it.
It's actually quite hard saying The Sisters Brothers because the last name is Sisters, isn't it?
Sisters, yeah.
The last name is Sisters, so it's like The Sisters Brothers. All right, okay. Now
I see this was Rutger Hauer was in it. Was that his last film?
Ooh. Rutger Hauer.
He's in the cast.
No, he's a tiny bit. I guess it must have been.
It would have been close to it. It would have been close to his last.
Yeah, it would have been close to it, but it was I can't give any spoilers, but let's just say the pennies drop sort of thing. Yeah. So, but yeah. No, now you mention it. Yeah, it's
let's see.
It's not huge.
No, apparently there's still some films that he was in that are yet to be released.
Oh, okay. So it's quite prolific right up until.
Okay, so let's see. The Sisters Brothers was in 2018. After that, there was The Sonata, Vi 2, Journey to China, Marlet and Ecstasy, Break, a film called Tonight at Noon, which has been completed and but hasn't been released yet, and another film called Emperor, which is in.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know
lots more Rutger to come then.
Yeah, but he did have like a sort of he's one of those who has like a direct to video. He has a whole direct to video career, shall we say?
Yeah, very much.
So okay, Shaun, I've got.
I've just thought of that Emperor. Yeah, okay, give me an idea. Anyway, yeah, go on.
Okay, so I've got two films for you to try and break you out of the Joaquin Phoenix is Joker.
Okay.
There's a film called He Won't Get Far on Foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have these been released, or are these?
Oh no, these have been released. Yeah, the last time I saw both of these, they were both on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. Let's go to Just Watch. Remember the website that we now have that is not our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Watch and find out where
to go.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So there's He Won't Get Far on Foot, and the second one is You Were Never Really Here.
You Were Never Really Here. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Funny enough, that was one I looked at. I said to you early on at the start before we said about I was looking at films of the trying to think of my films of the last decade. Well, I saw that. I thought, I haven't seen that one, so I might have to check that one then. I'll try and catch that.
Is that the one where he went really method, where he completely immersed himself in?
Oh no, that was the one where he that was I'm Not Here.
I'm not here.
Yeah, I think that was I'm not either. I'm not here or I'm not there or something like that. So okay, no,
because that's the one where sort of reality and fantasy got a bit muddied, and we've never really untangled it since.
Yeah, that he told everybody that he was quitting acting to become a rap star, and it was essentially they were making some sort of mockumentary kind of thing. So okay, the film is called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. Which is
Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot. Yeah. Okay, I'll try and get these. Yeah.
Don't worry, because he plays. I think it's a real life cartoonist who is wheelchair bound, and who he did a cartoon, which I think it's like when you have like a tracker, like a Wild West tracker, and they just have, and he did a cartoon supposed to be of himself, and it was just it was the wheelchair in the middle of a desert, and you have the trackers looking at it going, "Don't worry, he won't get far on foot." So it's one of that's what, and let's see, that is actually on Amazon Prime. That is on Amazon Prime.
Right, okay.
And let's see, the other one is You Were Never Really Here. That was a Lynn Ramsey film. Yeah, You're Never Really Here.
You Were Never Really Here.
They're both. I was right. They're both on Amazon Prime.
Oh right, okay. We might have to check those then.
Yeah, yeah. Which I think that the if after you see these two films, you still see him just as Joker in everything he does, then that's it. Sorry, Joaquin, you've ruined it.
Yeah, it might just have been, like that one, but it was just difficult to, because I think he's pretty much sounded the same, And as I've watched Joker, God knows how many times now, it's
Yeah. I can't believe that. So, all right, I believe that is it for this week. Thank you very much, Shaun, Sharon. Thank you very much for listening this far. Taiwo, if you're listening, thank you very much for getting in touch. And anybody else who is listening and wants to get in touch, please do get in touch with us. We do love hearing about you. Tell us about the things that you have been watching. Tell us about the things that have been buried in your Netflix list and never to see the light of day. Don't even get me started on my Amazon Prime list, because that's
well, we might have to check them.
Yeah, I think we should. But I think I'm going to try and do one a week. Going to try and make it my way through my Netflix list by watching one thing a week.
I can't. I mean, yeah, and then when finally it comes to it, WandaVision.
Well, I think we only have one more episode of WandaVision, Shaun.
Yeah,
we only have one more episode.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, and then we can talk. Shaun, we might have to have a spoiler episode.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
where we just try to talk about everything about WandaVision and go, okay, what about this? Because we have one more episode, and obviously it's Marvel, so whatever's going to happen in the final episode is going to link to a wider story. But I'm looking at the final episode and I'm going, I don't think we're going to get this. There's a lot to resolve. I don't think they're going to resolve it. I think that it's going to be a comeback later when cinemas open, and go watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness to find out what happens next.
Yeah. I think it's like, I mean, stuff must be all over the internet about stuff, because it's quite often when I go for YouTube and stuff, and like this things come up. Not that I watch it, but it says, episode 6 explained.
Yes,
you know what I mean, and all those sort of things.
Yeah, you get these.
Well, to be honest with you, a lot of those titles are clickbaity, because they say explain, and if you watch them, they don't really explain anything. They just tell you what happens in the episode. No. I'm like, I already saw the episode. I know what happened. So
that's it.
So it's but I know there's a lot of, especially because Marvel is very clever at taking the comics and taking things from the comics, but then remixing them and not just giving you exactly what was in the comics. So there's some things that if you've read, and I think they do very, very well at doing something so that if you've read the comics, those who've read it will be like, oh my God, they're doing this! Ah! We'll figure, and one character will say one line, like, oh, the devil's in the details.
I mean,
and the internet will go, oh my God, they're gonna do it! And those of us who haven't read the comics will just be like, oh yeah, cool, I'll carry on.
Yeah, and that's it. And I think they've got the people that haven't read the comics and the people that have read the comics. There's enough of the comic content, I think, to keep people excited. There's enough of the comic content to think, okay, all right, it might not follow the exact storyline, but there's enough in there to keep us satisfied. Do you know what I mean? It's like the
good stuff.
And stuff.
I agree. I think as well. I won't start banging on about how much I love what Marvel is doing. I'll just shut up now. But anyway, until next week, when oh my God, WandaVision will be over then. We can talk about WandaVision next week.
We could do, yeah.
Oh, until next week, when Shaun and I will probably be bursting at the seams to try and talk about WandaVision and make sense of what it is we've seen. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're just gonna blow up. It's a goodbye from me.
Yeah,
it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.